We back. I'm here on Karuta today, and we're talking about workers and how much they're worth. Now, obviously, workers are worth a hugely varied amount because you can use anyone you like as a worker in theory. If you're not sure about how workers work in general at work, you have your job board and you put cards on there, and they have effort, and depending on the amount of effort they have total, you get some bits when you work. It's great. I've done some videos about work in the past, so feel free to have a look at those if you want any more information. But basically, to get a good worker, you need a couple of things. You're going to want them to be in mint condition. Hopefully they have a reasonable number of wish list. It doesn't need to be anything huge, but a reasonable number. Just enough so that they don't get burnt a lot, you know? You would like them to have a low-ish print. Doesn't need to actually be low print, but you know, maybe mid print, pretty reasonable. You want them to have cosmetics, so that's a die and a frame, preferably a mystic die. Any frame will do though, they're all the same. So with that in mind, how much are they worth? And what I really want to find out this video is we're going to do some maths, and we're going to find out how long it takes to pay back on a worker. Because let's suppose you buy the cheapest, scraping the bottom of the barrel worker, right? You buy it off someone's burn list. Let's have a look at my burn list, shall we, and see what quote unquote workers we have on here. If my burn tag is cook, I'm going to order it by efficiency, and here we go. The top worker, 179 effort, and they are obviously a mint worker. You could buy them from me if you want. Hey, hit me up for say double the burn value. That's pretty stereotypical. That's what I normally sell burn cards at, and so this is going to cost you roughly 2 mint dust. We can even check the exact burn value. Look at this, 267 gold. That's actually pretty good. So buying this card is going to set you back around 500 gold and around 2 mint dust. I would say that's worth maybe a little over half a ticket, something like that. It's not much. And then what they're going to get you is 180 odd bits every time you work. You can work every 10 hours, so we can bring out the calculator, and if we assume there are 2,000 bits to a ticket, it depends on the rate and on the type of bit and all the rest of it, but we'll assume 2,000 bits to a ticket. What you need in order to earn that half a ticket is 1,000 bits. So we can do a quick and easy 1,000 divided by 200, which we should all know is 5, and then multiply that by the 10 hours, which we should all know is 50, which is about 2 days. So if you're working constantly, as soon as the cooldown comes up, it only takes 2 days, and you have made back your money already. Now, of course, this is the bottom of the barrel worker, the cheapest worker you can get, and realistically, this is not the kind of worker that you're going to be buying because you already have a worker like this. Most people already have a worker like this. If you're super new to the bot, you might not have a worker like that, but not to worry, you will get one soon. So in order to improve on that, we need to get a couple of things. Let's start by getting a better card, right? Let's suppose we want one with a couple hundred wish list. We want a mid-print. I'm going to assume mid-print. Mid-prints, as you can see, typically have the higher worker values. All of these here are mid-prints. I mean, we've got this one, which is almost a mid-print, and then this one is just probably got some wish list. It's from JoJo's, I don't know. But yeah, we'll go with mid-print, and let's say 400 wish lists. If you want to buy a mid-print with 400 wish lists, that's probably going to cost you about 4 tickets. And of course, the quality being mint at that point doesn't matter. If I look at some example cards here, this Rushia is a pretty good example. We've got a few hundred wish lists, and it's obviously in mint condition. It's a mid-print. Let's suppose it costs 4 tickets, and it's giving us 220 effort, as opposed to the 180 that we were getting before. Now notice, this isn't actually much higher. It's going to have a greater effect once we start putting the cosmetics on, but let's once again do the maths. We're getting 220 bits every 10 hours, and we need to make back around 8,000 bits in order to get our money back, because I said that was worth about 4 tickets. We've got our 8,000 bits. we're gonna divide that by 220. I think I'm doing the maths in a different order this time, but whatever, that's fine. This is the number of times we need to work in order to make our money back. We're going to multiply that by 10 and we get 360 hours. We can divide that by 24 to get days. We have 15 days. So it'll take us a couple of weeks. Now, all things considered, that's not bad. It's obviously a lot more than the couple of days that we had before, but this number is going to start going up once we put a frame on the card. To check how much effort that's going to be, we'll continue using this Uruha as our example. I'm going to check her effort here, and then using Kaching, I'll generate all the other effort values for various cosmetics. So we have the frame value here, which says it would go to about 300, and we can plug that into the calculator the same way we have with the others. However, how much does the frame cost? Well, actually, frames are pretty cheap. It's going to be cheaper than the card, because if you get a basic frame, it's only going to cost you around 3 tickets. You can get a basic frame voucher for 3 tickets and then buy any one you want. You could also just buy the bits that you want, although that might actually cost you a little bit more. Or you can just buy the frame straight up. It should cost you 3 tickets. It shouldn't be hard to get a frame for 3 tickets. So, taking that into account, we had 4 before for the card, we're now adding 3, so we're at 7 tickets total, and we're going to multiply that by our 2000 ratio to give us 14,000 bits that we need to make back. We divide that by the 300 that we get every time we work from here, and then times that by 10, we get the number of hours that we need to work for. Once again, we can divide it by 24 to get the days, and we get 19 days. This is a little bit longer than those 15 days from before. It's going to take you 4 extra days to pay this one back, but that one is actually a pretty small jump. If you remember the first jump, we went all the way from 2 days up to 15, and that was quite a big jump. You're having to wait a whole extra couple of weeks in order to pay the number of bits that you spent back and then start making a profit. Whereas with this one, you only have to wait another 4 days, and you will then forever be making more bits. So adding a frame to a card, certainly worth it. Now we have the dies. The dies, as you can see here, add around 20, and they add around 20 when there is a frame applied as well. We're not going to look at just a die because it's quite obvious that the frame is going to be more substantial, but we'll have a look at die and frame, and so that one is going to add 20 on to the 300 before. How much does the die cost? Probably 4 or 5 tickets. You can rent a normal die for pretty cheaply. I'll say it's 4 tickets, so we're up to 11. So we do 11 tickets times our 2000. We're going to then divide that by 320, times that by 10, and divide it by 24. It's all the same math that we're doing again, and we get 29 days. That is a pretty substantial increase, given the fact that the number of bits that you're getting after you've paid it back is only around 20 extra per work. Kind of not worth it, because you're going to spend an entire month paying it back. That is, in fact, an entire work license, and then only then do you actually start turning a profit on the fact that you spent the extra die on it. So would not really recommend. However, in the super long term, it is definitely worth it. If you're planning on working very actively for over a month, sure, put a die on it. However, we then have Mystic. Mystic dies add a lot more than regular dies. So let's take that into account. With the Uruha here, we have 380 on the Mystic die. However, Mystic dies also cost a lot more. Current prices point towards Mystic dies being worth around 50 tickets, which kind of blows the rest of the cost out of the water so far. Of course, we don't have to buy the die if we're buying a Mystic die instead. We still have to buy the frame and the card. So we're looking at about 57 tickets now for our worker. 57 times our 2,000 is a pretty substantial 114,000 bits as an equivalent, and then we can divide that by the 380 we're getting per work, times it by the 10 hours that it takes for the cooldown, divide it by 24 to get days, and we are looking at 125 days. That's basically 4 months. So unless you're planning on working for over 4 months, which to be fair, in the long run you probably are, then it's not actually worth getting a mystic die. So then, why do people bother getting dies for their workers? Is it really not worth it? Well, the issue is that actually if you're planning on working for more than 4 months, then it is worth it. You do turn a profit, because after those 4 months are up, you are gonna start getting those extra 80 bits in comparison to just frame. Extra 80 bits every time you work. And of course, you do have a cool card now, which you basically got for free because you paid it all back with the working. Now, of course, this only works as long as you can fit the card that you got into your job board. You can only fit 5 cards into your job board, so I'm not out here trying to tell you that all your mystic dies are free as long as you work. That's entirely not true. Although it is true that working is good, and you should definitely do it and definitely get yourself some nice workers. So what am I trying to say here? Well, realistically, what we've discovered is that, kind of unsurprisingly, the most efficient workers to buy is a worker with a frame on it. Simple as. Simple as. In fact, you could potentially just buy a worker for burn price that doesn't have much wish list and put a frame on them. It would probably still do reasonably. It would be very cheap because you're only sinking 3, maybe 3.5 tickets into the worker, and it's going to pay itself back in a short couple of weeks to start turning you a profit. The only reason to get workers that are better than that, going for those mystic dies, is if you're planning on working for something like 4 months, which, like I said, to be fair, a lot of people are. I certainly am. So I'm not trying to discourage people from putting mystic dies on their workers. And plus, you're probably putting mystic dies on some cards anyway, so you might as well put it on workers too. The point is that it takes a long time to make your money back on the workers. And if you want a quick buck for a little bit, maybe getting a card with a frame is the best choice. Anyway, mostly I just wanted to discover how quickly it would take to pay back on a worker, and now I've done the maths, so you don't have to. Good job. It was pretty simple maths, not gonna lie. I just had an idea, made a video out of it. That's the bottom line, really, isn't it? Just like all the others. But there you go. Workers are great. You should get workers, and then you should put frames on them. Simple as. That's all I wanted to talk about for this video. So I will leave this one here. Bye.